Hello there, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. I'm so sorry that this week's video is a little bit late. I have Mondays off in the summer, and for some reason I'm just not getting it together on Sunday evening, so my apologies. That being said, the reason I'm not ready this week is because I made you some samples. So we are doing the latest trend, and that is a slimline card. We're going to use the Love of Leaves. This is in the new mini catalog. And I have a sheet of very vanilla thick and very vanilla regular. So the thick is going to be for the card, the regular is going to be for the envelope. Because what good is it to show you a card that you don't have an envelope for? Now, if you don't want to use a piece of cardstock for your envelope, you can use just a regular business-sized envelope, a number 10. But we're Stampin' Up, right? You want to be able to doll it up and have a pretty envelope. So for the card, we are going to cut this at 7.5. So we're just taking an inch off the one side. Sorry, I'm just looking at my measurements. And then on this side, we're going to take it down to 8 3/4. So the only unfortunate thing with slimline cards, well, maybe there's a few. One of the most unfortunate parts of slimline cards is you can only get one per sheet. We're going to score this at 3 3/4. So remove that cutting blade, score down there, and then I like to flip this back up and line it up against that ledge so that I get a nice straight fold. Move it over because you don't want it to dip into this part and get an impression from that. So that is our card. I'll use my bone folder on that after. And then we might as well do our envelope while we're here. So the envelope is a full 8.5 by 11 sheet. And we are scoring it at 2.5. And 6.5. And then we're going to turn it on the 11-inch side, and we're going to score it at 1.5. And 10.5. And while we have our trimmer out, I am actually going to use my trimmer to cut out these little pieces. We need to get rid of this piece, and these two. And now what we're going to do is on these top pieces, so this is the bottom of the envelope, we are going to mark this. I'm not marking it, but you feel free. I am going to line up this spot right here and then this corner with the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, do you see that? And then I'm going to slice that little piece off. And if you have any little pieces like this, just use a nail buffing block and buff them down. So it's kind of weird, I know, we're working on the envelope first, but we might as well do it all while the trimmer's out, right? So now we're just going to fold and burnish our score lines. And we've got a very nice fold there. Now, what I would recommend is with some scissors, or while you still have your trimmer out, just notch out a little bit of this bottom piece, and it will help the envelope close better. This part I feel better using scissors on, but if you'd like to use your trimmer, by all means. And you've got a little bit of wiggle room. This tab isn't all that long, so don't go too deep. And now that will help to close better. I don't want anyone to get cut by this, so let's just notch these pieces. Nothing worse than a cardboard cut, and this is the regular, but it's still cardstock. So before I do anything else, I do want to do some stamping on here. And I also want to round off these edges. So using the detailed trio punch, we are going to round those corners And if you don't get a perfect rounding, your nail buffing block can actually help out there. These things are amazing. I can't craft without one of these. Whether it be kind of sanding rough edges from my trimmer or fixing little boo-boos, I use mine probably every time I craft. Okay, so there is the bones of our envelope. There is the bones of our card. So, as promised, we are using the Love of Leaves. This is such a beautiful set. It's got this amazing die that's all of the stitching, and then it's got the leaves which stitch on the outside, not the inside, but there are dies to do stitching on the inside. And I thought I'm going to keep this color palette fairly simple. Let's just move these out of the way for a minute. And I am going to use Very Vanilla, Whisper White, and this brushed gold. And I know people are like, oh, Whisper White and Very Vanilla, but it can be such a classic, fresh, beautiful look. So I just happen to have a piece left over from a slimline card that I did at some point. It's a scrap of Whisper White from something. So our slimline card is 8 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I want this to be 3.5 by 8.5. If I were really good at mental math, I could just figure that out, how much to take off that side, but there's enough going on in my brain right now. Okay, so this is going to be kind of the mat for our card. And then we're going to do a little bit with this. These are just some scraps. These are scraps. So what I'm going to do is, I want to keep this very monotone. So we will bring in, with these scraps that I just set aside, we'll stamp a couple of leaves. Each of the leaves have a die that cuts out the leaf, and then it has the stitching. So you can do one part at a time, or you can do both. Okay, so there's the one leaf. Move just a tiny bit on me, but that's okay. We're going to be layering these leaves. So if there's a little boo-boo, it's not the end of the world. And we're all human, right? We're not machines. Okay, now with this part, I want to be careful because I don't want to tear the cardstock. And I would recommend stamping these a little further away so you can do more cutting at once. I have a tendency to try and conserve cardstock, and then it makes everything more difficult in the end. Look how beautiful these are already. Leave that piece of tape on there. And if you find that your die is just a little bit warped from your die cutting machine, just give it a little bend. And I'm going to show you the next ones. We'll do these large ones because I have my new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I did a quick Facebook Live last week when it arrived, and OMG, it is fabulous. It really is. And I was thinking after I did just the one cut, and it was so amazing. And then it got me thinking, well, you know, even with the Big Shot, if I had replaced my plates every now and then, it probably could have done better. But this is a phenomenal machine. It is on demonstrator pre-order, but if you would like to add it to a starter kit, you can do that. It is available to customers on September 1st. It is $163 in Canada. and that is just within a starter kit. You pay $135 for your kit and you choose $165 in product. So let's move this out of the way. Done with that. Move those over there. So it is a gorgeous machine to begin with. It is compact. Has the logo on the front, has this great handle, carrying handle. And now what we can do, now that I've moved all my stuff right where I need this to be, we'll open it up, and all of the plates are numbered. You've got the die cutting, like the base. You've got the thin die adapter, basically. So number 2, and then you've got your 2 number 3s, and you can see how much cutting I've done since I got this. So we'll pop those on there. And there is a little bit of wiggle room side to side. I don't know about you, but on my Big Shot, I was forever misaligning them, and then a little piece would get chewed up. Well, this one has a bit of room on either side, so that's not going to happen unless you put it in like that. So it is a little more forgiving in that way. We're going to be putting everything, and I'm going to take this super fun die and we're going to do this across. Now, the only issue with that is you can see it's not long enough, but we're going to line it up and we'll put it through a second time. You can also emboss a slimline card with the same concept. And I will show you on one of the samples that I did last night when I should have been filming my video, but wanted to have some samples to show you. You can emboss. However, it's going to be very tricky to line up. So what I did was I made sure that I covered the seam. Okay, so there we go. I think we're gonna have a little bit of a spot at the end that may not have anything, but c'est la vie. And I'm only holding this down out of habit. It's got rubber feet, so you really don't need to. Now, I don't know if you can see, but the one that I did before got a little bit flattened when I put it through the second time. So what I'm going to do is, so that the whole thing looks cohesive, is I'm just going to run through that second half so that it's a little bit flat as well. You could do partial die cutting in that you just stop where the first one ended, but there. Now it's got less texture, but it still has that fun pattern. I've got a little bit of schmutz there, so I will use my adhesive eraser to clean that up. And then I have one more idea on what we can use to get in a little bit more of that brushed metallic. So there is our mat. I'm not going to glue it down yet because I want to dry fit everything and make sure that it's going to look the way I kind of have envisioned in my head. And if you know me, you know 9 times out of 10, I end up putting the mat down and then realize I wanted ribbon, and it's just a nightmare. Okay, I don't want those 2 whisper white pieces together. I'm gonna have that one off to the side. It's kind of like making a floral arrangement. And I may not even need all of these leaves. I want this one kind of front and center. Just play around with it till you get a look that you're happy with. I'm thinking these ones are too big. The beauty with the slimline card is that you have so much more length to work with. Although I still find that I'm sticking kind of to one section, and I like having all of the extra white space, if you will. Okay, I like that. I think trying to fit this leaf in here is, it's too much. So what I would like to do is I do want to bring in some ribbon, but I also want to bring in the Peace and Joy. And what do I want? I don't want bright because this isn't really bright. There are some great sentiments in here. I think I'm going to bring in another piece of the white and very vanilla and gold though. So let's do peace. And whenever I'm working with this die, I like to use the new adhesive sheets because as you can see, it is very thin. See, it was perfect. And then just give it a light push. You don't want your take your pick tool indenting that foil. Isn't that beautiful? It's just so dainty and delicate. So this third die is completely optional, and I will tell you that when I use it, I tend to use vellum. So let's give it a try. Got a piece here, and if you don't like it, hang on to it and you'll use it on another project. Where's our piece? You want to put these away before they get lost. Same thing with our dies in here. That one I'll do after. So before you even glue it, just layer them all on top, dry fit it all, and see if that's what you want. I think that looks pretty. And then we could do peace to the world, to you and yours, on earth. I think we'll do on earth since we've got this beautiful little fall spray here. And I am going to use the beautiful gold trim from the Forever Greenery ribbon combo pack. There's also a beautiful gold in one of the suites. I think it's Wonder of the Season. This one is quite a bit thicker, but they are both beautiful. I think you can see the difference there. Both beautiful, and if you don't have one, you can use the other. So let's get to assembling. And I think I'm just going to have my ribbon in behind there, so I am ready to adhere this. You need to be very careful that you get it right on the first try, because if you are able to move the Stampin' Seal, it won't stick again. You'll have to use more, but this stuff is very strong. It's not like snail where you had a little bit of forgiveness. This stuff is strong. Okay, so I was saying you don't want to flatten that texture. You don't want to end up with like a line of it, so you really don't need to press all that hard. I'm going to use liquid glue for the leaves. Put a little run of it down there, and I am just going to stick my gold trim kind of in behind. I shouldn't change it. It took me that long to be happy with it, right? So I should stick with it. I think we'll use some dimensionals on a couple of them. You could use linen thread, you could use crumb cake, sorry, the braided, or just, you know what, let's do both. Because why not, right? So, I think I have a little more linen thread than I do the gold trim, but that's okay. So what I like to do is just make two little bunny ears and loop it through, and then I can adjust it to my heart's content. You just need to make sure that your ends aren't getting lost in the mix. That one is very close. So I'm gonna just have little short tails on there, maybe a little bit shorter. And then I'll just attach that with a glue dot. And these glue dots while they are small, sometimes are a little bit too big, so you can kind of roll it on itself. You can barely see the linen thread, but that's okay. It's there, we know it. So now we can put our words together. I'm just going to use some liquid glue. Don't need a lot, and we're just following the text. This piece we don't need to worry about any adhesive showing because it's on top of the vellum. And actually with this, you don't even need to worry about adhesive showing through the vellum because we've got this shadow to cover it. It's amazing! And then for the adhesive sheets, I just use my take your pick tool and I hold the word down, get one little piece lifted, and then pull very carefully because you don't want your backing to rip, but worse yet, you don't want your word to rip. The way is to start in the middle. So in this case, the A, get it lined up, and then work your way out, and then back. And it's just so pretty. So I'm gonna wrap it a couple around 3, once around 4 fingers, and then we can just put it back there. Actually, let's do it around 2 and then 3. And this does come apart quite easily, so if you want it to stay together, I would suggest a glue dot or a piece of washi tape or something. I am just going to use a bit of tear and tape to keep this together. And then I'm going to cut my ends because I don't want those sticking out. If you do, leave them on, but I don't. You could definitely put this on before you attach all your leaves, but I like to do things the hard way sometimes. Okay, so the gilded gems. Aren't these beautiful? So much depth and shine. Oh, pretty. I can't say that I use a lot of the large ones. You can probably see by the fact that there's still so many of them there. I find they're a little bit too big. Okay, so we're gonna put those 3 on there. Now on the inside, I think this is very vanilla, so we don't even need to add a Whisper White layer. And I think I'm just gonna leave it as is, but I do wanna have something on the inside. I've got 2 hashtags. I don't always use them, but one is no more naked envelopes. So we're gonna get to that in a minute. And a new one is no more naked nails. So if you follow me on Facebook, you might have seen that I just shared a group, a brand new group called Polished AF. So last week, a demonstrator friend invited me to her gel moment party, and I had never heard of this amazing Canadian company. Fast forward to Thursday, actually later that day, I found a local distributor because I want to be able to work with someone locally. I wanted to know what was involved in the starter kit. And fast forward to Thursday and I joined, and my kit just arrived today. So that's another reason this video was late, because I had to do my unboxing. But with Gel Moment, it is an at-home gel manicure. It is like one step. So I just redid this and did it on my video. This was 3 coats because it's a lighter color and I wanted it to be opaque. But, and this isn't the best manicure. This silver was done on, oh, what day was it? I think on like Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday. So that's already a week in, and it doesn't look fantastic, but again, I was doing it for the video. And if you want to know anything, you can send me a message. I am, with this company, allowed to sell within Canada, US, and Australia, which to me just blows my mind because Stampin' Up! Doesn't work like that. But I can sell and I can have people join my team from those 3 countries. So I'm just flabbergasted. And I have a party open currently, and I already have one of my friends that joined me. I'm just, I'm thrilled. Okay, so going back to the card, we've got peace. Let's do, I'm so glad you're in my life. And then, oh, how about hope changes everything? Then we've got hope and peace. A hope for peace. Love that. Now with a photopolymer one, especially when it's a longer sentiment like this, you want to put it down and kind of let it do its thing. You don't want to mount it straight on the block because you may not get it straight on the block. So I'm going to stamp this. Actually, I find the best way to make sure it's straight is to hold it up to a grid, whether that be your grid paper or whatever you're working on. So we've got Hope Changes Everything. It's a very nice, dainty font. It goes very well with the rest of our card. And then I have to stamp a leaf on the inside. And I think we're going to do this one that looks like a heart or a spade. So let's do it like that. Isn't it pretty? So that is our slimline card. That took quite a bit longer than I thought it would, but let's just do the envelope very quickly. We're gonna put a little leaf on there as well. All this stuff. So all we need to do is add a little bit of glue. Actually, let's do stamp and seal. You can see that I only got it halfway down. Clear that there. Make sure that you don't have it too far over that it adheres to the inside of your envelope. For this, I want to use some liquid glue. We need to hold that down for a few seconds because it is cardstock and it is kind of a tight fold. So just give that a rub. And then for the top, we're all done. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of the seal on there. I'm gonna stick my fingers to it so that it's not like super tacky. And if it's still too sticky for you, take your embossing buddy and just dab it on there. That will remove some of the stick, actually a lot of the stick. And that may not work if it's going through the mail. I wouldn't do that part, but if you're hand delivering it, I would just do that. Okay. Now, I did say the whole reason I wasn't putting it together was I wanted to do some stamping on it first, and I got distracted. So I didn't use this leaf on the inside. I'm not going to use it on the outside. I think I'm going to use this one and the little one that we already have mounted, the spade. And I'm just going to do it where it's coming off of that edge. You don't want to put it on this side because that is where a stamp would go. And I will be completely honest with you, I have no idea what this would cost to mail. You would have to go to your post office to find out. That one I'm just gonna stamp. I stamped it off, so it's just kind of in behind. Okay, and then you could stamp something here and our card's ready to go. You could put a little thumb notch in here, but I don't find it necessary with that little crossover. You want to make sure that nothing catches on the front. And there you go. You've got your slimline card and envelope. Now, move all this stuff out of the way. We're going to close this up before I put my fingers or something else in it. And I'm going to show you the samples. This is what prevented me from doing my video last night like I normally would. But I hope you think it was worth it, because I do. I don't know that I would have come up with this idea without my samples. So here, let me take it out so you can see envelope and card for all 3. So there's one. Here is the first one that I made, and I followed a tutorial on YouTube. And this one's a little bit larger. The card is the same, but the envelope is a little bit larger, and I used DSP for this one. and a lot of our DSPs are very busy on one side and not so busy on the other. This from the In Good Taste I think would work either way, but I wanted to bring in the paper that I had for the envelope on the card. My bow is pointing upwards, but that's okay. This was cased from Anne-Marie Heil, and the only difference, she had a feather in there, but I added some of those elegant faceted gems, and OMG, isn't it beautiful? So this one was my first one. I learned some lessons on that and then made another sample. So this one, I got a little schmutz on there from my pad, but this one uses the Forever Fern bundle, and look what I did. I used the Good Morning Magnolia. Oh, it would help if you could see what I did, right? I used that die from the Good Morning Magnolia set and gave my envelope a nice finish. And this is one where I put the embossing buddy so it's not super sticky. And then this was the first time I used one of the gold hoops. Isn't that shocking? So this was the one where I was talking about you can use the embossing folder. You might notice, you might not. This way the pattern goes that way, and the other way, that makes no sense. You have to feed it from both ends, and then this covered the seam. And I did stamping on the inside, everyone. So I would love to know, let me show you, I did stamping in all of them. No more naked envelopes or insides. Okay, so tell me in the comments below which one is your favorite. Do you like the one I just made? For that one, say Love of Leaves or Peace. Do you love the In Good Taste? So put In Good Taste or You Are So Special. Or do you love the Forever Fern? And in that one, you can put Hello or Forever Fern. See, I use the metallic pearls. I don't know why my camera isn't focusing. But tell me which one is your favorite. And if you have a reason why, I would love to know. I don't know that I could pick a favorite. But I hope that the delay was worth it to see these extra samples. I know they're not displaying very well. Let's try them this way. They're so slim and long that they take up the whole screen. Okay, so that is all for this week. I hope that you enjoyed that. And that is all, my crafty friends. We'll see you again next week. Bye.